Chinese people become well off, that is a good thing. It is a good thing if it happens to Indians
Of
and
course it
Africans
is.
and Latin Americans and all of these people. It is a good thing if we are being completely realistic and honest with ourselves. For us in Europe and for you in America, it's a good thing for everybody. And we can trade better. We can exchange ideas better. We have more reasons to want to be peaceful with each other because we then have a joint interest in our shared prosperity. Trying to keep someone down in that way, because that's what this amounts to. It's about
Exactly.
keeping
But
people
explicitly.
down. Is profoundly oppressive. It is extremely wrong. And by definition, it is going to provoke resistance. It's bound to. And when you look at the West, who we are, Europe, the United States, we're only a small part of the world, an important part of the world, but we're not the majority. The majority is elsewhere. If we're going to set ourselves in that way, that we're going to try and keep the majority down, well, unsurprisingly, they're going to resist us and they're going to start coming together and they're going to start creating their institutions, their alternative institutions to our own. And then, of course, presumably, we will want to sabotage them and all that. And then we will get into that very cycle of confrontation and bloc politics, which is the one we're in today. But this is completely counterproductive. It is misguided. It is anti-historical, by the way, just to say. It absolutely is. And it is fundamentally antithetical to the system that, once I believe the United States stood for, the United States that was instrumental, for example, in creating the United Nations, which was the political expression of convergence, if you like, treating all states, all societies, all nations as equal with each other, understanding that everybody has a stake in the system and seeking to preserve peace. Anyway, there we are. That's our question. But I mean,
No. And the U.S. was the lead force for the World Trade Organization, and the attack at the time is, the U.S. is trying to open markets for everybody and for U.S. advantage. But in fact, the open markets allowed this rapid convergence because open markets for the world enable the convergence of China and India and other countries, which famously had export-led growth. And of course, they benefited. And that's a wonderful thing. And the core idea of economics that Adam Smith brought in that is a right idea is this is not a zero-sum game where China's gain is somehow America's loss. Are you kidding? This is mutually beneficial. And I was in California recently in a wonderful visit, and somebody asked me, wasn't it a huge mistake to let China into the WTO? And I said, are you kidding? This was a tremendous thing. Not only did it help China raise living standards for 1.4 billion people, but this has been good for the world. And this person said, but it hurt the United States. And I thought, no. By the way, it made California rich because California sold a lot of technology and was engaged in a lot of trade with China, and China was the manufacturing base for all those wonderful gizmos, these things that we hold. They're all made in China with very efficient production processes, thank you. That's mutual gain. And so this idea that this is somehow was terrible for the United States and so forth, it is, if your only interest is we're number one, and we don't want anyone else, and we'll hold anyone else down. Well, maybe if you're in that absolutely zero or negative sum mentality, then yes. But if you're in the mentality that actually prosperity is a good thing, peace is a good thing, not going to war is a good thing, and trying to hold down, even if you could, which you can't, but in our age, although the imperialists did it, hold down other places in the world. No, that is not a good thing. But that is actually the prevailing mentality in Washington, I'm afraid.
I think it's probably because there's a tendency to conflate what's good for America or American interest with American hegemony, and this is one that's it should be separated now, especially now that we see that international trade system can't be developed without China. That will lead to an economic war, which really can't be won, and also European security architecture with Russia would also predictably result in a great power war, also which can't really be won. So I think the struggle for restoring dominance or going back to the 90s as it was, that this is not necessarily consistent with U.S. interest either, which is why it keeps surprising me there's no course correction, and because we